just taken a lot of opium, so this could be an interesting episode of Park Date. Why don't you join me? Just go ahead and take some. Lie back and enjoy this episode. Welcome to this Park Date. Wow, that opium is really something. On today's episode, wow, I can barely talk. On today's episode, we've got a great guest for you. He didn't take any opium, I promise. Anyway. He starred in Murder in Successville, some amazing episodes of Love Island Aftersun where he impersonates the Islanders. The final's coming very soon for all Love Island fans. Star of stage and screen. He's got an Edinburgh show. Forgot the name of it momentarily. It's called Gritty Police Drama, where he plays 60 characters. Go and see him in Edinburgh. Oh, quite lightheaded now. It's Luke Kempner. Thanks for participating, Luke. And I'm so sorry that I'm high while I'm doing your introduction. If you like Park Date or drugs, then leave a review of either. We'd really love it. And follow us. I can't even remember the address, I'm so high. Something about podcast, Park Date, something like that. Enjoy the episode. Okay, welcome to Soho Square Gardens in London on this sunny day, and I'm here with Luke Kempner. Luke, how are you today?
I'm very good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, sorry I'm a bit late. I had to help a guy who fell off his bike.
Did you really?
I helped him a little bit.
Oh, well done.
Thank you. I've got I've got my Cub Scout first aid badge.
Okay, good.
So I'm basically a qualified doctor.
And now you've got your helping man who's fallen off his bike badge as well.
Right, exactly.
I'm a Cub Scout.
Were you?
Yeah.
What badges did you have?
Oh, mate, them all. My jumper was absolutely full, but I mean, I feel like it was sort of run by just reprobates and sort of people who had like nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And I think they gave out the badges quite easily. But I think it was things like, I think I had my astronomy badge. I was quite proud of that one. That was quite a cool little, you know, like a little sort of planet.
Yeah.
And I had like hobbies badge. Athletics 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Did you have cooking?
I think I did have cooking.
We had to do cooking, and we cooked like the worst meal.
Really?
And it was like some kind of like beans and sausages.
Beans and sausages, yeah.
Like,
that's not badge
badge
worthy, is it? That is not badge worthy. Like, you need to be cooking like carbonara from scratch.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
these days kids are probably cooking carbonara, or they're doing like small plates.
Yeah.
You get their small plates badge.
There should be different levels of cooking, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like, I really liked Cubs and Scouts, but it did feel like it was. I was always felt like I was always the youngest there, and like the older ones. When there's like 4 years difference when you're that age, it's huge.
Yeah.
And I remember being quite scared and like not being able to sleep when we went on camps and stuff like that, and sort of coming away going, oh, I thought this would be great. I'm actually quite sad. And one time we went swimming with the Cubs, and like on the way back, 5 minutes from home, the scout leader goes, ring your mum and say that you've been left at the swimming pool, which was like a 45-minute drive away. So I rang my mum. They were like, "Hey, it's been great." So I rang my mum and I was like, "Oh, I'm still at the swimming pool, and I'm on my own, and they've all got home." So my mum had 5, and then we got home, and they were like, "Oh, run in and say you're here." Like at the time, I was like, "Oh, it'd be funny." But now, when you think about it, especially as I am now a parent, I'm like, you'd be like, your heart would be in your arse, like. Oh my God! Like my poor mum. Yeah. Terrible.
That wouldn't happen these days, would it?
No. Terrible institution.
Yeah.
The Cubs and Scouts.
I feel like back in the day as well, they would let us do things where they would just send us away into a forest. They say, be back in 4 hours.
Oh, yeah.
You had to, like, find each other. Or,
oh, my God.
Yeah.
It was frightening, mostly, actually. I don't think but you say be prepared to be frightened.
Be prepared to
oh my
That's
God.
their new slogan.
Yeah,
be prepared to be frightened.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't think I've kept in touch with anyone from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose it teaches you some things.
Yeah, definitely.
Athletics 1 and 2.
Yeah, so you got your badge.
Yeah. Got badge to prove that.
And were you...
when we were in school, Luke, I was going to ask you about this, so maybe this sort of links in, but we used to impersonate our teachers.
Yeah, man.
And that was making me think, actually, in Cubs, I think we impersonated
Oh,
our
really?
tailor.
Yeah.
But were you doing that as well? Were you
Always the teachers.
Yeah.
Man. That's where it first started.
I was wondering about that for you.
Yeah, and like the first one I kind of did really was my. We had different. It was always you go for the easy targets. It'd be like Mr. Tomlin because he had a weak arse, so you'd be like, oh, here comes Tomlin. And he came once and he came into the class and he said, I hope you're all not mucking about because remember, Tomlin plows. And so that was the first one of me going around saying Tomlin plows. But then it was
that could go on a t-shirt.
Yeah, I know.
Tomlin plows.
Just literally taking it. And he was so nice to me when I left school as well. Sent me this big long letter saying, you inspire me. And I was like, oh God, I've ripped the piss out of you for the last 5 years. But it was actually when I was at drama school and I did impressions of my singing teacher, who was called Roth Campbell, and he spoke like this. And he would always say, so Luke, you're reaching up for the notes like you're a giraffe. You need to relax like you're a hippo. And, that is a very good impression. But that's kind of where it started. And I would get up in front of everyone at drama school, so 300 people, and do a set of impressions of the teachers based around a sort of narrative, whether it was them putting on the nativity play or it was Roth Campbell bringing out his new book and I need people to help me. And that's kind of how it started. And now here I am, 15 years on, and I'm still doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's worked out well.
Yeah, definitely.
It's kind of led into these other things that you're doing. You've got your Edinburgh show coming up.
Yeah.
Where you're playing 60 characters.
Yeah, 60 impressions, 60 minutes, one murder. In gritty police drama, the musical.
Yeah.
And I love it, man. It's sort of come full circle in that, when I first left, because I did musical theatre for 4 years, I was in shows like Les Mis and South Pacific and Avenue Q, and then I left that to do comedy. And the first show I did was called The Only Way is Downton, which I did 10 years ago now. And it started from a YouTube clip that Stephen Fry tweeted about. That went viral. Then I wrote this show, toured it around the world, and then sort of came away from that about 8 years ago, worked on my stand-up, because I wanted to be able to be on TV, on radio, on podcasts like yourself, with yourself, and be able to be funny as myself. So I went away and learned, I went into clubs and learned how to be funny as myself. And now I feel like I'm coming back to kind of how I started with a one man, playing every single character. It's all impressions. It's a lot more singing than I've done in previous shows, because I sort of came away from that from the musical theatre days. But now this show has got 6 songs. And like I say, it's 60 characters, 60 impressions. It's all based around gritty police dramas, which is like Line of Duty, Happy Valley, Luther, Unforgotten, all that sort of stuff. And it features, Ted Hastings, like the battle, he's the main character in there. But you've also got Catherine Carewood, from Happy Valley, Sarah Lancashire. And Luther, Idris Elba, he's there doing a lot of product placement and a lot of violence. So there's all those characters, but then in around that, James Corden's been murdered. We need to find out who by. So we get in D.I. Ian McKellen, we get D.I. Claudia Winkleman, D.I. Louis Theroux's in there as well. He's sort of there because he can get anything out of anyone. Is that okay? Am I okay? So it is just full of impressions, full of songs, love songs, fun songs, comedy songs, torch songs. Even at one point I get the audience to hold a torch on me for I sing a song as I'm dying. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the greatest things I've ever written. So I'm excited to get going with it in Edinburgh. Yeah.
It sounds cool. And I think there's that thing, Luke, isn't there, where you sort of were alluding to it when you're doing that sort of split between when you're doing impressions and you're being someone else versus when you're being yourself.
Yeah.
And I think there's a few people that talk about that, like Steve Coogan talks about that as well, doesn't he? He was doing a lot of impersonations.
Yeah, Spitting Image. He started off with Spitting Image.
Right, which you've done as well.
Yeah.
How does it feel when you're kind of you're inhabiting those people? Do you have a sort of you have to have a split personality or something?
Well, I think the thing is that I find I like doing comedy as myself. I like doing stand-up. I like, I do a lot of MCing, and I like chatting to the audience, mucking around. That is me on stage. There's a lot of comedians that's a version of them, but that is genuinely me on stage is the same as I am off stage. But when I get to do the impressions, I just feel like I can push myself in different directions. Whether it's being like someone like, well, I know you had Christopher Biggins on your podcast, haven't you? And it's being able to be someone that's so different and so such a different personality than mine. I get to throw myself into that. You know what I mean? And then, but also
that was a very good Biggins.
Thank you. But even people like Andy Murray, I absolutely love Andy Murray. I'm a big fan. He fucking incredible tennis player, you know, the passion. I'd love to be a sportsman like him, and I get to be that on stage by just doing his voice and writing funny jokes around it. So for me, it just gives me a chance to really extend different parts of my personality, different things that I find funny, really.
Yeah. And it's do you kind of like study the people? You know, when you're doing an impersonation, I guess you're watching a lot of TV, and do you kind of think, what is it like to be this person? Are you going back to drama school?
I mean, yeah, essentially, you know, you've got to build a character, you know, for each of these people. Like, even like, you know, Michael McIntyre, for example, like in my show, he's the chief of police. So, you know, we've got Michael McIntyre, the comedian, we know him, we've got the one that has the wheel, my big show, we've got all those characters. But then I want to make him the chief of police in the gritty police drama. So then you have to think of things that happen with the chief of police. So they're always coming in and saying the budgets are tight, budgets are never loose in a gritty police drama, are they? And then like doing some you know, look, I love Michael McIntyre. I think he's one of the greatest comedians we have in this country. So really I'm just trying to pick his style and then push it onto being the chief of police in Line of Duty or gritty police drama. So it's sort of, what I love at is I pick a, you know, like with Downton and now with gritty police dramas, it's picking a genre that I love and picking out the nuances of that, you know, but then putting in all my impressions and the nuances of them. And actually, John Kearns once said to me, like, that, you know, I'm saying this as a compliment to myself, but it's like, I sort of have to come up with a new comedic persona for every single character I do. Well, like if you're a stand-up, that's your comedy persona. Yeah. And that's just you. Yeah. You know, Frankie Ball, that's just Frankie Ball the whole time.
But it's a version of you, isn't it?
Yeah.
In comedy college, they're like, well, find this kind of on-stage version of you.
Yeah, exactly.
So when
it's the funniest version of you.
Exactly. So when you're on stage as you, are you even you? Or do you feel like,
I am.
You're kind of like the real you.
I suppose the funniest things I feel that I do on stage is sort of mock faux arrogance. Yeah. It's sort of like, you know, I don't want to talk about my musical theatre days. It's not something I want to mention. You know, no, I really don't want to talk about it. And it's all that sort of stuff that I know I can always go to of sort of, oh, I'm dramatic, I'm theatrical, I've done a lot of things but I don't want to talk about it. Is kind of my thing. But like, I sort of do that in general conversation anyway. You know, it's just me, it's just self-deprecating comedy. But I suppose with every character that I do, you are just trying to find what, like you say, it is your interpretation of what is funny about them. So it's still me. It's just my observation of them. Yeah. And then how far do I push that? Yeah. You know, like with Andy Murray, I don't just play him, oh, I'm not, you know, I'm charismatic even though I'm not. But I like to just pretend he's a teenager still. Only because his mum's always around and my brother plays tennis and she lets us play Mario Kart upstairs if we're good. You know, like, oh, we've got a ping pong ball. You know, so that's my version of what I find funny about him.
And I think that's how you can push a regular impression into something more. Yeah. And that's what they did on Spitting Image as well, isn't it? Where they put the character into a sort of more unlikely comedic situation. Oh my God, you're so right. Which then makes it like better, doesn't it?
And that's the thing, from doing like Spitting Image for a couple of series and now we're doing Spitting Image live in London, you know, like for I play King Charles. Now I've never done King Charles before we did Spitting Image because you know, he's always been sort of, you know, he's quite a low voice for me, you know. I don't, you know, when characters are down there, I can, like, sort of Mr. Carson from Downton, but sometimes when they're sort of in their 60s and it's quite hard to sort of sustain that low character. But then in Spitting Image, I watched this great documentary with Coogan and Harry Enfield who were talking about how it's less about the impression, more about the character. So once I got that in my head, and then I sort of really started to push him, you know, and he's got this gruffier tone, he's sort of very tense, I'm trying to do something mad, and you can see with my arms I'm moving, and it's very proud, and I'm the king, and it's my crown. And like, that is not how he talks. It's a version of how he talks, and it's the funniest way that I can make him funny. You know what I mean?
And it's interesting to pick up on those tics that people have. I guess you watch The Crown, right? Where Dominic West is doing Charles. He's like,
and he does look, you know, as soon as he does that face, it does. I actually went to, this is such a name-droppy story, but about 2 years ago,
Go ahead, Luke.
I went to a cricket match with Rory Bremner and Dominic West.
That's
because
very
Rory
good story.
had been helping.
Rory's a very big cricket fan, isn't he?
Yes, and he'd been helping Dominic West with his King Charles impression. Right. So and then he made Dominic stand up in front of a room of 400 people and do his King Charles, and it was great. So like, and it was amazing, sort of seeing Dominic, who's obviously an actor, but he's having to do an impression. But it's but similar to I feel that what I do. is it is always a character you're creating more than just, isn't it funny that this really sounds like this person? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but picking out those characteristics is a funny thing.
Yeah.
But it's strange, isn't it, when you're playing? I guess when you're playing people who were there as well.
Yeah.
I guess you've not had a chance to ask the king for his feedback.
Not yet. But I've met Harry. I met Harry and Meghan. They're in my show.
Right.
And I suppose, I didn't talk to him about my impression of him.
Yeah.
But you have to. It's one of the weird things as well, because if I knew Harry really well, the stuff you would take, the stuff I take the piss out of my mates is different to what most people would think. So, for example, like in my show, to not have jokes about Harry and Meghan and the jokes that an audience expect. I have jokes of Harry going, Em's just doing a podcast about how to breathe and why it's so important. And like Charles said, she should try stopping. What? Nothing. But like, that isn't what I necessarily think of Harry and Meghan. I am actually quite supportive of them. I think what they're doing is a great thing. Certainly what Harry's doing, with his sort of quest against the papers is amazing. But it's what an audience expects, and what's funny about that.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
it's funnier to put them in this situation, and like I watched that South Park thing they did. I don't know if you saw that with Harry and Meghan, where they go around with placards going, "We want our privacy," and like that's really funny.
Yeah.
And I think Harry and Meghan will probably find that funny.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of like it's difficult trying to unpick what an audience is going to find funny as well.
Yeah, and I think mostly people who've been impersonated probably quite enjoy it on some level.
Oh,
right? I guess no one's ever come up to you and been like, Luke, I hate. Yeah, exactly.
It's funny
Have you
actually.
ever had a negative reaction?
Well, it's one of those things. Is like for years I've done like Big Brother and Love Island, Aftersun, doing Islanders, doing Housemates, and like nearly all of them taking it really well. But it's some of them that like it's mostly the arrogant ones that come up to you afterwards and go like, well, here's her name. So, what's her name now? Boris Johnson's sister. What's she called?
Yes, I can't remember. We'll
Boris Johnson's sister, and I hate that. I already feel bad that she isn't. I'm making her famous for being Boris Johnson's sister. She's famous in her own right.
We'll dub it later.
Yeah, stick it in later. But she came up to me afterwards, and I really enjoy what you did, but you didn't get me. You didn't get me. You have to try harder to get me. Work on it. And I'm like, well, the fact is I can't even remember her first name at the moment. But like, it's funny that people go, you didn't get me, and often people don't realise how they sound as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? You don't realise how you sound. It's a nightmare for me when I'm editing this podcast, having to listen to my own voice.
Yeah,
Just think, oh my god, do I sound that bad? It's horrible.
No, not at all. No, you do it to you do it to get
It's a
used
strange
to
one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Were any of the Islanders from Love Island unhappy with your portrayal of them, Luke?
Not at all. They've always
They're
been
all
really.
happy.
I think, to be honest with you, like it is for them. Most of them come from it as being a complete nobody, and then go on the show. And if someone has taken the time to work on their impression, think of funny jokes, they've always, to be honest with you, really liked it.
Yeah.
Because it's like it is a compliment.
Yeah, and we were saying, I think you need to do it again this year because it's always good when you do your roundup on Aftersun.
When we did the roundup last year, it got like 10 million views.
Yes.
Like it was insane.
It's very good.
So if in all seriousness, gritty police drama is the hardest show I've ever written.
Yeah.
So it's like. It has taken up so much time. I've also got a 1.5-year-old child, so it's like fitting it in around that, as well as watching Love Island every night, because I do the Love Island podcast, and I have my own podcast with my wife and her twin called Shit, I Married a Twin. So it's just fitting all that stuff, and then those Love Island videos take me like a whole day to film.
Yeah.
But I do need to do it. I literally, as you were walking here, I had a message on my Instagram going, why are you not doing the Love Island videos this year? And I'm like, I'm trying. I am trying.
They are good. Who are your favourite Islanders from this year?
From this year.
I'm a fan as well.
Do you know what? Remarkably, I really like Zach. Because I do the podcast with Sam Thompson and India Polak, and they're like, oh God, why do you like Zach? He's so boring. And I'm like, no, I just sort of, there's something so sweet about this guy, who's like, oh, that's terrible. Molly. That's terrible.
You're Molly.
No, broski. No, that's okay, broski. I forgive you, broski. But he's like this sort of road man, but he's actually quite sweet. He's married. He's not married, but he's now going.
Whoa,
I know. Well, who knows? But he's now going out with Molly, who's basically like. From my sort of life in the musical theatre, blonde girl, which was very much my type, and my wife is a blonde, tanned girl that likes musical theatre. Like I just never put them together.
It's an unlikely match, isn't it?
But so I quite like Zach. I loved Mehdi. I miss Mehdi, French Mehdi. And Mehdi from the first 3 weeks, he was fantastic. Him and Whitney.
Whitney, my boundaries. You are crossing my boundaries.
It's perfect. But so I was very sad as he went. But like. I sort of hate and love them all, really.
Yeah.
You know, like
Sammy and Jess make me laugh when they have their
Yeah,
conversations.
yeah.
It's
Your
all like
little
a-
boy, your little boy, Sammy.
Babe.
She needs to just let that boy go. Oh my God.
He's always like, babe,
Yeah, exactly.
babe.
And he's like,
It's
oh,
giving player, babe.
I'm sorry if I upset you. He's never like, I'm sorry. It's, I'm sorry if I upset you. It's like, no, Sammy, you need to actually apologise here, mate. Yeah. Love him.
Yeah,
Love it.
It's a good one. I do like Love Island.
I love it. Well, Ian,
Very
look,
watchable.
Ian who does the voiceover, he's like, he is one of.
Yeah,
my,
your Ian is good
Yeah,
as well.
he's one of my best friends. So it's kind of cheating because I speak to him every day on the phone. So like, I remember when he got the show, and like the first couple of years, as much as I loved it, like not a lot of people were watching it. Like, compared to now, it's like 3 or 4 million.
Yeah.
It was like 700,000.
Yeah, and I think Ian Sterling's voiceovers and jokes are one of the reasons why people like Love Island, because it elevates it.
Definitely.
Like, I try and convince people of this. Like, why are you watching Love Island? But it's funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
Like, there's a lot of jokes.
He's great, man.
Yeah, it's very
he's
funny.
really
Yeah,
great, and
very
he
funny.
keeps delivering. It's 10th
Yeah.
series now, and he keeps
Yeah.
delivering. Like, and he's now doing the American Love Island as well, and like he's a
busy boy, isn't he?
He's definitely part of it though. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it works without him.
Yeah.
And I would hate it if they, if he ever didn't want to do it. Like he feels so integral. Like Marcus with Big Brother as well. It's so good that he's carrying on doing it because
sure.
he's just part of it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's good when you have those shows that need people to be a part of them. You can't have. There's some shows you can't have without that person.
But it would be like, watching Come Dine With Me, without,
Exactly.
what's his name? Lamb,
yeah, exactly.
Can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But like, it would be so weird if we didn't have him doing all the time. Like, it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
And, and these shows are important to have their voices. Even like adverts. You look at like Compare the Meerkat or like Go Compare. Like, you take those central figures away from those adverts just feel like they're a different company.
Yes, exactly.
Like.
Is it Simon? Maybe I've got his name wrong. Simon.
Yeah, Simon Green.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
He was
Simon Greenall from like
Alan Partridge.
Michael.
Yeah,
Michael of Alan Partridge. Sort of boon
Alan?
copper beans. Like, he's Compared to Meerkat.
Yeah,
And he's
exactly.
like, his voice, like, he's sort of, it's like, sorry.
Yeah.
Talks like that, but amazing at voices. Yeah.
I feel like those adverts have probably made him a millionaire as well. So
100%.
Fair play to him.
100%. He's had an incredible career. Yeah.
Exactly. One thing I wanted to talk to you about, which I mentioned before, and then when we were talking about your show, was the links with Murder in Successville, which is a very, you can imagine, a ping pong ball is just gone between us. Luke's going to get the ball. I'll get the ball for you.
Cheers, mate.
That's what happens when you... That guy who said cheers, mate, he's actually an actor I paid.
Yeah, I know, it's great.
to come over.
He looked like he was going to kill me.
I'd slip him his £10 later.
I know. I've ruined his game. But Murder in Successful.
Tom Davis in that. He's great.
Yeah.
And that was a show which I loved. I was a huge fan of that show. I remember trying to explain it to someone, and they were looking at me like,
You just have to watch it. It's like, just watch one ep and then you'll understand.
So it's like these people playing celebrities.
Yes.
And there's been a murder. It's just fantastic.
Well, the thing is the way it's an improvised murder mystery.
Yes.
Like
that's a very good way of it. I should have got you to explain.
Yeah. Improvised murder mystery. It's sort of like an American style cop show.
Yeah.
Where but Successville. Which is called Murder in Successville. Successville is this town where is all populated by celebrities. Mm-hmm. So the murders that happen by the celebrities, but they've always, Tom Davis, who plays D.I. Sleet, has always got a rookie with him, and his rookie is always played by a celebrity that has no idea what's going to happen, a real life celebrity.
Yeah.
So whether it's Greg James or Jamie Lang or
Jamie Lang episode,
Chris Kamara, yeah. So it's always like a different celebrity, and like Deborah Meaden was amazing. So and they don't know what's going on. We don't know how they're going to play it. We have a set kind of like where we need to get to with the story.
Yeah.
But whenever they came into the room, we had no idea what they were going to give us. You
Yeah.
know? So it was incredible. And interestingly, with that show and the sort of influence it's had on gritty police drama, in that for me, when I wrote gritty police drama, it's the genre that I chose is shows I love: Happy Valley, Line of Duty. Luther, all those kind of very, very popular British, miserable, in the rain, small town kind of shows.
Yeah.
Where with Murder Successful, like I say, it's a bit more sort of Americanised, and D.I. Sleet, the character of Sleet, is more he's less serious. He tries to be serious. He's a different sort of character. So like I feel there's like similarities in it with the celebrities, and we're making a heightened scenario of a murder silly with lots of celebrities. Yeah. But I feel there's lots of differences as well. The musical element and also like, you know, when I wrote my Downton Abbey show, that this is kind of what I'm doing now. It's a one-man show, 60 minutes we're saying. It's probably more like 55. Start to finish, storyline. And hopefully you come away going, what the hell was that? But I loved it, you know.
Hopefully. Yeah. Incidentally, my favourite ever Love Island challenge was Line of Booty.
Oh yeah, that was great. And they were just all dressed as police, weren't they? Yeah, I do remember that. It was last summer, wasn't it?
It was. That was a classic. But yeah, you're right. It was exactly Murder and Successful. Got those American elements, but then it's almost like Tom Davis is almost breaking character as well. You can see him; he's on the verge of laughter half the time.
I adore that guy.
Yeah,
honestly,
he's trying to keep it together, and he's not.
But he can do it. That's the thing with Tom. Like he can keep it together. Although he said to me, like when he used to work with Lee Francis when he was starting out, because like he's about 10 years older than me, and like it was kind of my first telly job was doing Murder and Successful, and he was like, oh, when I used to work with Lee, I couldn't stop laughing. And like my trouble is with Tom is I couldn't stop laughing. Like, so
we didn't say your problem was you couldn't start laughing.
No. I wish. I just couldn't, because like Colin Holt's in it as well, and Colin can just keep a straight face all the time. Like, and I just find the stuff so funny. Yeah. And we had this whole scene, me and Tom, where we were doing this bit with it's the Lorraine Kelly episode where I was playing Ant from Ant and Dec.
Yes.
And we improvised this bit, me and Tom, not written in the script at all, where I would go and show him my brewing. I was brewing beer, and Tom Sleep just starts coming on to me and starts going, I know why you've got me back here. And he just started like putting his finger around the rim of the glass, like looking at me in the eye. And I'm like, I know what you're doing. You're just trying to make me laugh, like that. But the trouble is, then it becomes quite a funny scene because he's going, come on, and I'm going, no, that's not what I thought this was. I just wanted to show you the beer. I thought you'd like it. And he's going, nah, come on. He's like, guy like me, hot guy like you. And I, oh my God. And like, he kept laughing as well, to be fair. But like the director at one point, James Defron, who like wrote it as well, like he kept coming in and being like, guys, it is really funny, but if you keep laughing, we haven't got a scene. But then that heightens the pressure, and then even then you're just going, and like when you watch it, you can so see my face is just like they obviously cut the second I go and all that. But yeah, they pieced it together.
Yeah, I think that was a good thing about that show. You could see you guys are having fun, obviously.
Most fun I've ever had.
Yeah, it looked like a fun thing to film.
Honestly, if they brought that back, it would be like a dream come true. Yeah, I really would. I love it so much.
So any of the characters you did there, have you brought to your new show? Like you did Arsene Wenger.
Yeah, Wenger's in it. Wenger's got one line in my new show. It's Arsene Wenger. Yes, I have him in the show. He works European operations for the drug gang, and I think basically he says, "Am I Arsene Wenger? Yes. Am I head of European operations? Yes. Is this an outdated impression? No." So he's in there. I'm trying to think who else. Like Tom Daly's not. Right. Daniel Radcliffe's not. Alan Carr's in it. Andy Murray's in it briefly. Who else did I do? Bear Grylls is in it. Yeah. And I do Ant and Dec in the show. So yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, when you're trying to do 60 impressions, you really are having to bring out, you know, like, I've probably got 300 impressions I do, but a lot of them are like Islanders, you know, that were in series 4 of Love Island. So it's like, as far as ones that people recognise.
Like Diomora.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Or less famous than that. Because like at one point I've got like, because I'm trying to get 60 in, so like McIntyre just goes, oh, well in that case, let me introduce you to my new assistant, snooker commentator John Virgo. And he just goes, oh, where's the cue ball going? Oh, thank you, John. So there's a bit of that, just to sort of beef up the numbers. But yeah, there's certainly a few from Murder and Successful that made it, and from Spitting Image that have made their way over as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Well, people have to go and see that in Edinburgh. And also, what else have you got on at the moment? You're doing a podcast, of course.
Yeah. Shit, I Married a Twin.
Yes.
So it's been going
with
so
Alana
well.
And
with
her sister.
With my wife Alana and her sister Lisa, and like we basically. What we used to do when the three of us meet up is just sit and chat and drink wine. And actually, it was always really fun chats. And we were always like, it's quite a weird dynamic that I'm like married to one twin, best friends with the other. And that's kind of, we've always thought we should do a podcast. Yeah. And then, you know, it took us 10 years. And then eventually just started recording it. We've done 12 episodes. The feedback's been amazing. Yeah. And like, we sort of found our feet with it quite quickly. It's quite easy. Which always feels like you're onto a good thing there.
Exactly, it looks hard. Actually, very easy. Just record a chat.
We just sit and chat, and it goes really quick, and it's good fun.
And that's the good thing about a podcast. It's a fun thing that you can do.
Yeah.
Everything else, you sit around. You and I both know pitching and
you're
conversations,
working, writing.
Yeah, but
people saying no, yeah. Well, like you say, even just with this, it's like this just flies by. You're just having a nice chat.
Yeah, exactly. I was listening to, I think it's the latest one that you've got out.
Oh, really?
Where you were talking about your worst job ever.
Oh, which came out today. Yes. Yeah. Oh God, which one? Which one are you pointing to?
It was the TGI Fridays one.
What, the ingrown hair?
So, I was eating my breakfast this morning. Luke tells an anecdote. I don't know if we should even say it now. Maybe we'll let people go to the podcast and listen to it. There's a very funny anecdote that you tell about
trying to get out.
Getting out of a shift at TGI.
Oh my God!
By telling them about a fake medical incident.
Yeah, a fake medical incident that's near my rectum. And the trouble is like I look at that now and go. At the time, I didn't go, this is funny. Yeah. I was doing it deadly serious, thinking, this is the only way I'm going to get out of working on New Year's Eve at TGI Fridays. Yeah. And then I quit anyway. God, I hated that job.
Yeah, was that a bad job?
That was bad. I hated that.
Was that the worst job you've ever done, TGI?
I think so. Yeah. The smell used to, give me anxiety.
Yeah.
It took me 5 years to eat in a TGI Fridays again. I hated it so much.
Triggered.
And then, but I've had a lot of bad jobs. I hated my paper rounds. I hated... The best jobs I've had, and I actually didn't mention this in the podcast, was when I worked in a cinema.
Right.
I worked in a cinema for a year. I loved it.
Yeah.
Money was awful.
Some jobs are easy. I worked in a record shop, easy. Being a lifeguard or something, that's easy. Yeah, but working in a restaurant or a bar, you've got to work a lot.
Oh my God.
You want a job where you can skive off a little bit.
I don't know, but do you know what? It wasn't even the hard work. It was, you just get treated really badly.
Really? By customers or
by
managers?
Employees.
Yeah.
By work, managers who are they don't like it as well when you are part-time. I think often, you'll work part-time and they're like, what's your dream? And I'm like, my dream is to be a star, darling. And it's sort of like, this is just to make some money. And they're like, well, this is my stardom. Is this cafe.
They want the answer to be, I want my dreams to be regional manager.
Yeah, I know. And then they might have respected you. But it used to be that when I went to TGI Fridays, I was at drama school, and they hated anyone who was part-time.
Right.
Because they were just like, oh, you're just sew up your own arse going to drama school. Yeah.
Rather like the medical problem that you...
Yeah, exactly. Which pretty much, which was which was up my arse. But I just was like, I just couldn't understand why I was like, no, I'm just trying to... And also, I was fucking 19. I'm 19, I'm trying to achieve my dream of being a West End star. And then you're annoyed that I don't want to, serve Jack Daniel's ribs for the rest of my life, But it wasn't good times. I was going to say good times. It wasn't good times. I hated it.
Good times.
I'm glad I don't work there anymore. But go to TGI Fridays, those mozzarella sticks are fantastic.
TGI Fridays lawyer.
I know, exactly.
Dialing my number as we speak. Hello.
Listen, all press is good press, yeah? All press is good press. But, people haven't thought about TGI Fridays for a while. People will be going again.
TGI, is that still going?
Yeah, now they're going to go.
Now they know, right, exactly. Lovely, right, we'll finish there, Luke. So your show is at Edinburgh. All of August?
All of August, starting on the 2nd through to the 27th, 5:30 at the Pleasance Courtyard. Gritty police drama, the one-man musical.
Gritty police drama. And after that, what's your next plans?
I can't even say.
Oh,
I have a huge job, which I shall tell you when the mic goes off. But a huge job that starts end of September.
Amazing.
Which is incredibly exciting.
Well, maybe we'll catch up with you later next year or something. We can talk about that then.
Yeah, man.
Luke Kempner, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you so much, dude. So nice to see you.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of Park Date. There's lots more where that came from, and there'll be more in the future as well. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review, good or bad, make them funny. I'll be reading out the best ones, and there'll be a prize for the one that makes me laugh the most. Name check some trees in your reviews and leave them wherever you get your podcast from. Check out our website, parkdate.co.uk, and if you see me walking around in a park, come and say hello. I think that was the sound of someone sneezing. Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye. Coming up on the next episode of Park Date, have you ever wondered what life would be like without slippers? Seriously though, can you imagine it?